Hello, in this video I'm going to run through my personal Torbran Thane of Redfell deck. This deck is focused on dealing as much instances of damage as possible. That's why I call it a Peener's deck. And so Zuzu the Punisher, they have a land enter, they take 2, now it's 4. So for Vortex, each upkeep they take 2, now it's 4. This deals 3 damage to each creature and 3 damage to each player, now it's 5 and 5. And that's the whole build of this deck. So if a red source you control will deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. All of the creatures in the deck: Zuzu the Punisher, 3 mana for a 2/2 legendary creature Goblin Warrior. When a land enters, it deals 2, and then they take 2 extra. Toralf, God of Fury, is 4 mana for a 5/4 trample. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt excess non-combat damage, it deals damage equal to the excess to any other target other than that permanent. Then on the backside, it's an equipment for 2 and equip 2. The equipped creature has 2 tap, unattach it. It deals 3 damage to any target, and then you turn it to your hand. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 and it's legendary. So it's really just the front side that we care about in this deck. We're dealing a lot of excess non-combat damage. Stigma Lasher, 2 mana, 2/2 with Wither. Whenever it deals damage to a player, that player can gain life for the rest of the game. You know, there's a lot of life gain, and there's also life gain decks, and this can just turn them off completely. Mondrian Shaman for 4 mana to 3/2. If no spells were cast last turn and you have 3 opponents and yourself, there's a good chance someone's not going to cast a spell. It transforms into the Werewolf. This is a pre-release version. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, it deals 2 damage to that player. So every single time you cast a spell, you take 2, but with your commander in play, they would take 4. That's what we're looking for. Lots of instances of damage. Another 2 mana 2/2. It has first strike when it's your turn. And if an opponent would draw a card, it deals 1 damage to them. It's cheap, it gets on the board fast, and it just deals them damage constantly. Your opponents are always going to draw cards. So every single time they draw, they take 3. That can only happen to them 13 times before they're at 1 life. So they can only take that 14 times. Thermal Alchemist, tap, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. It's from a red source, so it'd be 3. And when we cast instant or sorcery, and there are a couple in the deck, it untaps. Plus it can block some. The Red Tear, this is a combo piece, I believe. The Red Tear is 4 mana for a 4/3. When a red source you control deals damage to 1 or more permanents, put a ++ a counter on it. I'm going to put that to the side because I think that's a combo piece in this deck. Defiler of Instinct is 4 mana for a 4/4 first strike. Additional cost. It turns your spells you can pay a Phyrexian red, so 2 life instead of red. And whenever you cast a red permanent spell, it deals 1 damage to any target. There's plenty of red creatures, and these are the enchantments and artifacts. There's plenty of those as well, so there's lots of red permanents, plus 2 Planeswalkers over here. So there's plenty of red, so every single time you cast a non-artifact spell, essentially, it deals 3 damage to any target. Goblin Sharpshooter. 3 mana for a 1/1. It doesn't untap during your untap step. Whenever a creature is put into the graveyard from play, you untap it, and you can tap to deal 1 damage to any target, which is really 3 damage to any target. So you can probably kill, shoot, and get a ton of things out of the way, so you can start attacking in. Morag, Fury of Alchem. Man, these names are hard. 4 and a red. It's a 6/6 legendary creature, Minotaur Warrior. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it's attacked this turn. And landfall, when a land you control enters. If it's your main phase, there's a traditional combat phase. There's not too many landfall triggers in the deck, but just you're playing 1 land a turn, being able to take an extra combat is super good. Burgi, God of Storytelling. Whenever you cast a spell, you get red, and you don't lose that mana. That's kind of useful. But the part that I like about it the most is the fact you can discard a card to exile the top 3 of your library and you can play them. So if you just draw a mountain and you don't, your hand's empty, you're playing red, you're not playing blue, you don't have too much access to draw. If you don't draw into a thing you need every turn, you can just discard it and get access to 2 more, which is good. Brash Taunter, 5 mana, indestructible. When it's dealt damage, deals that much damage to target opponents. Then for 3 mana, you can have it fight something. So that's pretty good. It can keep multiplying the damage. Look, if a red source deals 1 damage to it, so the red source deals 1 damage +2, now it's 3, and then this red source deals damage to an opponent +2, now it's 5. So it's 1 to 3 to 5, 2 to 4 to 6. So that's why I like Brash Taunter. Imperial Recruiter, there's a ton of cards in this deck with power 2 or less, and this can just go grab it. And then it's a 3 mana 3/1 because it deals 2 extra damage because it's a red permanent. Magmatic Force is 8 mana. That's a lot to get to, but for a 7/7, each upkeep it deals 3 damage to any target, which becomes +2, so it's 5 damage to any target. That's going to kill a good amount of commanders, and you can just every single upkeep, not just yours, each upkeep. Great card if you can get up the mana for it. Scab Clan Berserker is white, a 1 and a black red for a 2/2 haste with Renown. When this creature deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, put a ++ counter on it and it becomes renowned. And whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, if it's renowned, it deals 2 damage to that player. So every single time they cast instant, sorcery, artifact, enchantment, soul ring, mana drop, enchantment that buffs their creatures, it's going to be 2 + 2 with their commander is 4 damage, which they can only take 10 times. A lot of damage happens. Firebrand Archer, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Planeswalker, instant, sorcery, enchantment, artifact, deals 1 damage to each opponent, not target, each opponent. So it's 3 damage to each of them. So they're casting 1 Soul Ring is 9 damage out of the 120 you have to take from your opponents. Gutter Snipe, when you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. Not one of the best cards in the deck because I just don't have a lot of instant and sorceries. I'm looking at maybe 15, 20, but still a fun card. 4 damage to each opponent whenever you cast instant or sorcery spell. Landfall, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, which becomes 3. You're playing 1 land a turn, so this is really just every turn you deal 3 damage to each opponent, which is great. Spitfire Lagac, same thing, 3 damage each opponent every single time you play a land. Leyline Tyrant, 2, a red and a red for a creature dragon with flying. It's a 4/4. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end, and when it dies, you may pay any amount of red. When you do, it deals that much damage to any target. So this can soak up your excess red mana, and whenever it dies, you don't lose that. Like, if every turn you put 2 into it, in the last 3 turns you have 6 mana, and the person that ultimately kills it, oh, now they're taking 6 + 2, which is 8. So they don't want to kill it once you get a certain amount of mana on it, but it also just helps, which is fun. Hellfire Mongrel is 2 and a red for a 2/2. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 2 or fewer cards in hand, it deals 2 damage to them. So as the game goes on, if they're not playing like blue, their hand's going to go down, and this is a good way to get 2, which is 4 more damage into them. Hearthborn Battler is 2 and a red for a 2/3 haste. Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, it deals 2 damage to target opponent. So that's any player, even you can deal 2, which becomes 4 to target opponent. So anytime someone casts their second spell, tons of second spells are always happening in the commander. Ash Zealot, red for a 2/2 first strike haste. So it really deals 4 damage, great blocker. And whenever a player casts a spell from a graveyard, it deals 3 damage to that player. There's plenty of graveyard decks. And I also want to remind, this is it has 2 power, so it's a great target to get with Imperial Recruiter. A lot of these cards are. This is something you get with Imperial Recruiter. This is something you can get. This is not something you can. This is something you can get. This is something you can get. This is something you can get. Tons of great options. Pinnacle Monk is 5 mana. When it enters, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. I am playing a lot of basic mountain in this deck, and this is just strictly better than 1. Comes into play tapped if I needed to, or you can pay 3 life. You're dealing damage constantly, even to yourself, so taking 3 more doesn't really matter. It's not going to be a game of vast resources. It's going to be a game of speed and just hoping that your opponents attack each other once or twice. And just getting back an instant sorcery is just value. Basically just having a land, which is great. Emolition Shaman for white and for 1 and a red. It's a 1/3 Shaman. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, creature, or land that is not a mana ability, it deals 1 damage to them. So any tap ability on their commander, they're going to take 1, which becomes 3. And then you can also give it +3/+3 in menace, but that's like flavor text. You care about this top ability. Cemetery Gatekeeper for red and a 1. It's a vampire 2/1 first strike. When it enters, exile a card from a graveyard. Whenever a player plays a land or casts a spell, if it shares a card type with an exiled card, it deals 2 damage to that player. So you can exile any card from any graveyard. So if your opponents have an artifact land in their graveyard, now when they cast an artifact or a land, if you can go get an artifact enchantment, a creature, I don't know, artifact creature, now those are 2 types. It's going to deal a lot of damage. So it only deals with that 1 player, but this big 2 becomes 4, which is good. Titanic Giant is 2 a red and a red. For a 3/4 elemental giant, when it attacks or becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. So that's 5 damage to each opponent. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. You can cast 1 of them. I remember a game of Commander I was playing in college once where they went to target it. They only had like 4 or 5 life, and they literally could not kill it because it was attacking them. They couldn't block it. They wanted to do a removal spell, but they targeted it, so I had 3 damage to each opponent. And that was going to kill them, so they just lost either way. They couldn't kill it. Olephant for 5 and a red. It's a trample 6/4. When it attacks, another target creature gets +2/+0 and trample until end of turn, and has mountain cycling. This is really in the deck to be a mountain cycler. Just going to grab a mountain. I think that's just like good enough in a monocolored deck. You can just play all these from Lord of the Rings that have land cycling 1, but also just giving them trample. They kill the creature and then deal excess damage, which also gets 2 to the opponent, which is great. Harsh Mentor, whenever an opponent activates the ability of an artifact, creature, or land on the battlefield, if it's not a mana ability, it's 2 damage to that player, which becomes 4, and they're activating things constantly. Quake Brainer, your opponents can't gain life. At the beginning of your upkeep, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. This ability triggers only if it's on the battlefield or if it's in your graveyard and you control a giant. You control a couple of giants, it's just like an extra bonus. You really just care about each upkeep. If your upkeep, it deals 2 damage to each opponent, which becomes 4, which is great, and you can foretell it if you need it cheaper. Rampaging Ferocidon, for 3 mana to 3/3 menace, players can't gain life. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, any creature, it deals 1 damage to that creature's controller, which becomes 3. So every single time they have a creature enter, they take 3. And then Vengeful Tracker is my last creature. For red and a 1, it's a creature human detective. Whenever a player sacrifices an artifact, deals 2 damage to them. So they have a combo deck, they sacrifice artifacts, treasures, junk tokens, clue tokens, you name them, they were going to sack them, and it's going to deal 4 damage to them with our commander. Next up are the artifacts and enchantments in the deck. There are some mana rocks in here mixed in, so it does look like there's a little bit more, but I'm not playing green, so I need a lot of mana rocks. Sulfuric Vortex, when each player's upkeep, it deals 2 damage to them, and then 3 mana to cast, and then it stops them from gaining life. Arcane Signet, every deck. Sense, Throne of Eldraine is going to play an Arcane Signet. Repercussion, for 3 mana, it's an enchantment. Whenever a creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to that creature's controller. So you deal 3 damage to each creature. Oh, now it's 3 damage to each opponent as well. And they have 3 creatures, so it's going to be 9 damage to their before the buff. So it's 3. So 3 damage to each creature. They have 3 creatures, becomes 5 damage to each creature. And then whenever that 5 happens, Repercussions are red enchantment, which is a red permanent for Torbran, so it becomes not 5 3 times, but 7 3 times, which is great, because it's 3 instances of creatures taking damage. Ruby Medallion, we're just playing mono red. Let's play Ruby Medallion. We're hoping to cast more than 1 spell in a turn, so making them cheaper is great. Spiteful Banshee is X red for an enchantment. When it enters, it deals X damage to each creature. Whenever 1 or more creatures your opponents control die, you create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. So it triggers on every turn, so you can continue to get treasures off of it, which can get you a little bit of ramp, but also just entering and dealing X damage to each creature, and you get to control it, and then it also gets +2 is great. So it's a little bit of a board wipe that works with your commander because it's red, and you get some incidental treasures off of it. Tempting Contract, for 4 mana for an artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent may create a treasure token. For each opponent who does, you create a treasure token. Gives you some ramp. It's not the best card, very political, but it just works in a mono red deck. You don't have green. I just keep saying that, but it's true. Grafted Exoskeleton, for 4 colorless and artifact equipment with equip 2. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has Infect. That's the important part. All these things that are dealing damage to our opponents multiple times. 2 damage becomes 4, 4 becomes 6. Giving it Infect is just phenomenal. Roiling Vortex, for red and a 1, it's an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, it deals 1 damage to them, so that becomes 3 to your opponents. And whenever a player casts a spell for free, it deals 5 to them, and you can pay red to stop them from gaining life. But just having something in play that continuously deals them damage is great, and then being able to turn off life gain as an enchantment instead of just creatures is great. You really don't want life, because you're taking damage from your opponents attacking you, you're dealing them damage, they're getting punished for tons of stuff. You gotta keep them from gaining the life back. Spell Shock, for 3 mana, it's an enchantment. Whenever any player successfully casts a spell, it deals 2 damage to them, which becomes 4 because it's a red enchantment, not an artifact. Virtue of Courage is 5 mana for an enchantment. You can pay 2, it deals 2 damage to any target. And then later, whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you may exile that many cards to the top of your library and play them. Give you some card draw. You're not playing blue, you need card draw. And then also, you'll probably just find that you have 2 extra mana somewhere, and you can deal 2, if you have your commander, 4 to a creature or a planeswalker, or just one of your opponents, knock them down some life. Great card all around. Mana Barbs, this card will make you hated. For 4 mana, it's an enchantment. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, it deals 1 damage to them. That includes you, but it becomes 3 damage for each of your lands your opponents have. So you play this, dealing with this enchantment probably costs them some mana, and will deal them, if they pay 2 mana, deal with it, that's 6 life, and they probably will spend more than 2 mana. Ancient Ruins, for 3 mana, it's an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, it deals 1 damage to that player for each artifact they control. Treasures, clues, creatures, artifact lands, panharmonicons, equipments. There's tons of artifacts, and dealing just, it's 1 damage. It doesn't stack the way you'd want it to, but it deals them a lot of damage, +2. Cursed Mirror, 3 mana for an artifact, tap at red, or you can have it enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except for it has haste. So you can have it, your opponent's commander for a turn and attack with it, which is fun. But also just, it's a better manolith because it has a little bit of upside. Soul Ring, don't have to explain that. Valakut Exploration for 2 and a red. It's an enchantment. When a land enters under your control, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. And if there are any cards exiled with it at the end of your turn, you put them into their owner's graveyard and it deals that much damage to each opponent. So as the land enters, which is probably once per turn, you get an extra card, and if you can't cast it that turn, it deals 1 damage, which becomes 3 to each opponent. So it gives you access to more cards and deals them damage. Blazing Sunsteel. Whenever equipped a creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target. This is a combo with where is it? Brash Taunter. So Brash Taunter takes 2 damage. You have it deal, so whenever equipped creature is dealt damage, so you have it fight something, it deal this Blazing Sunsteel makes it deal damage to itself again, and then it deals that much damage to an opponent. And that damage, whenever it's dealt damage, so you have a target itself, it deals the damage and it's dealt damage, so it happens again. It deals the damage and it's dealt damage. It deals the damage and it's dealt damage. So these 2 cards are a combo in the deck. Case of the Crimson Pulse. For 3 mana, when it enters, you discard and then draw 2, so a little bit of fixing. To solve it, you just have no cards in hand, which is just going to happen in aggressive red decks, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, discard your hand, draw 2. Which, if your hand's empty, you just draw 2 cards every turn, which is great. Burning Earth for 4. Whenever a player taps a non-basic land for mana, it deals 1 damage to that player. You have a lot of mountains, this can kind of protect you, but also your opponents are just going to play non-basic lands. It just happens. Fires of Invention for 4 mana. It's an enchantment. You can cast spells only during your turn. Not a big deal. And no more than 2 spells. Probably what you're going to do anyway. And you may cast spells with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control without paying their mana cost. So you're not going to cast a ton of spells, again, because you're just playing red. So this limits you to only on your turn, which isn't a huge deal. You don't have too many instants in the deck. So Fires of Invention is a good card. Plus it just soaks up removal in my pod. They kill it fast and keep my other enchantments around. Circle of Flame for 2 mana. It's an enchantment. Whenever a creature without flying attacks you or a planeswalker control, it deals 1 damage to that creature. It's an enchantment. It's red, which means it deals 3 damage to that creature. So they can't attack with scions or squirrels. They have to attack with bigger things. Descent into Avernus for 3 mana. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put 2 descent counters on it. Then each player creates X treasures, and it deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of descent counters on it. So everyone makes treasures, but everyone takes a ton of damage, and you get to take advantage of the treasures first. Maddening Hex is a super fun card. For 1, a red and a red is an enchantment or a curse. It has enchant player, and when enchanted player casts a non-creature spell, they roll a d6, and then deals damage to that player equal to the result, and then you attach it to one of your opponents at random. So every single time they cast an artifact, enchantment, instant, sorcery, planeswalker, they take between 1 and 6, and then give it to one of your opponents. And it's a red source, so Torbran makes it be +2. So it's between 3 and 8. And then it goes to the next player, and it goes to the next player. It's a lot of fun. And it never goes to you. Impact Tremors is 2 mana for an enchantment. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, which becomes 3. So it's 9 more damage. 3/3/3 is 9. Stolen Strategy, 4 and a red for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those exiled cards. You may spend mana as those mana of any color to cast them. You just need access to cards, and your opponent's cards won't always be the best. You can't play their lands, but maybe they just have something. If you don't have anything, you could take advantage of it. Plus, it's just a fun card. Next Lotus enters tapped, but it adds red equal to your devotion to color. If this always gives you 2 red, it's great, but with our commander, which has 3 reds on it, it's always going to give us 3 with our commander in play, plus more. This doubles the damage of anything you have, and then it also has Convoke, which is great. Leyline of Combustion, if you can happen to start with this in your opening hand, it starts on the battlefield. Whenever you and or at least one permanent you control becomes a target of a spell and or ability an opponent controls, it deals 2 damage to that player. So every time they target you, they take 2. With your commander, it's 4. Pyrochemia, for 4, it's an enchantment. At the end of your turn, if no creatures are in play, you sack it, but you could pay 1 red to deal 3 damage to each creature and each player. I like to say, okay, I'm going to put a red. Do it 8 times and then let them all resolve. 8 red is 24 damage to each player, but only 8 to you. So it's super good in this deck. I'm going to quickly go through my instants and sorceries. Slagstorm, we went over it. It's 3 damage to each creature or 3 damage to each player, which becomes 5. Bolt Wave deals 3 damage to each opponent, which becomes 5. Rousing Refrain adds red for each card in target opponent's hand. You don't lose the mana, and then you can exile with 3 counters. So every 3 turns, You get a ton of mana equal to whichever opponent has the most cards in hand, which can help you do some fun stuff. This deals 1 damage to any target, and if it happens to die, you exile it. But it's just a tap land on the back, so lots of flexibility. You need to have as many. You always want to hit your land drops since you don't have access to green to put lands into play, or white to catch up on lands. So you need as many lands. And then this is just like a lightning bolt if you have your commander. Cazol's Fury, same thing. You can finish a player off by sacrificing a creature. And on the back is just a tap land. Anger of the Gods, 3 damage to each creature, which doesn't kill your commander since it's a 2/4. Let me actually show that, 2/4. And then if something dies, you exile it. Shatter Soul Smashing, red X. When it deals X damage divided as you choose among up to 2 target creatures or planeswalkers. If its X is 6 or more, it deals twice X instead. And then on the back, it's just you either take a bolt and it comes into play untapped, or it's a tap land. Love these in this deck. Vanderblast, kill all the artifacts you don't control, super important. And the Festivities, it deals 1 damage. Festivities, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker and each creature they control. So it's 3/3/3. Tons of damage for just 1. Fiery Confluence for 2, a red and a red. It's a sorcery. You choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. It deals 1 damage to each creature, 2 damage to each opponent, or destroy target artifact. If you choose that second one 3 times, it deals 12 damage. 2 + 2, 2 + 2, 2 + 2, which is great. Cinderclasm for 2 mana and a kicker of 1. It deals 1 damage to each creature, or it deals 2 damage instead. So you can choose for 2 mana to deal 3 damage to each creature, or 3 mana to deal 4 damage to each creature. That will kill your commander, but sometimes that just needs to happen. Valakut Awakening is another tap land on the back, but for 3 it's an instant. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many +1. At the worst, how I like to think about it is at the worst, the tap land that you can pay 3 to cycle it. Because the bare minimum, you can discard it, you have no cards in hand, you draw 1 card. So those are all the instant sorceries. Again, not that many. I'm going to run through the land. Let me go through the planeswalkers next. Chandra, Torch of Defiance. For 2, a red and a red. It's Planeswalker Chandra +1. Exile the top card of your library. You may cast it. If you don't, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. +1, add 2 red. -3, deal 4 damage to a creature. Or -7, you get an emblem with. When you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker. It's important to note that emblem is colorless. That's why I don't play the 6 mana Chandra that gives an emblem that deals damage to the opponents, because they're colorless and they just kind of put a target on your back also, but they're colorless, they don't get the buff. And then Koth, Fire of Resistance for 4 mana, it's 4 loyalty +2. You put a basic land into your hand. So at a bare minimum, it gets you a land, which is great. You're not playing green, you need access to lands. I keep repeating myself, but it's really important to remember that. And then -3 can deal damage to a creature you control the mountains you control. And -7, you can emblem with when a mountain enters, it deals 4 damage to any target, which can finish out the game quickly. And I have plenty of basic lands, but also some interesting non-basics. So if it enters the battlefield tapped, unless you control a mountain, so most of the time you're going to have a mountain in your hand, because your deck's, your land base is half mountains, I believe. 3 tap, creature you control +1 +0. Not the biggest buff, but a little bit better than a mountain. Mountain, War Room. 3, pay life equal to the colors in your commander's color identity, which is just 1. Draw a card. Valakut enters tapped, and a mountain enters under your control. If you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have it deal 3 damage to any target. It's not red, but it's still good to deal damage. Lots of mountains. Barbarian Reign, tap, it adds a red to deal 1 damage to you, but later in the game you can pay red, tap, sack it to deal 2 damage to any target. So just can finish off something, and it's also just fun to have more damage in the deck. Nyxthos, Shine to Nyx, 2 tap, choose a color. Add an amount of mana equal to your devotion to that color. If you choose red, at a bare minimum, you have to tap, in theory, you'd have to tap 2 mountains and Nyxthos, so 3 lands to get mana off of it, and your commander gives you 3. So at a bare minimum with your commander, this can just tap for red. And then anything else you have, all of your enchantments that you can sit on, or any of your other creatures, can take advantage of that effect as well. Let me get rid of some of these mountains. Arena of Glory enters taps unless you control a mountain. Half mountains, tap, add red, or red, tap, exert it. You get 2 reds, but the creature has haste if you cast a creature spell, which is a lot of fun. Great card in Modern. Arid Mesa. It's okay that you're said plains because there's no mana symbol, and there's a couple of landfall cards, and also just the feeling of getting rid of lands is good, but it triggers some of your landfall stuff incidentally. You don't have to play it, of course. Ramnot Ruins, taps out a colorless, tap, pay a life to add a red, or you can pay 4, sack it to deal 2 damage to each opponent. Again, colorless source, but I never found the combo with this. Colorless source, but can still deal some extra damage from the mana base. This is just a better mountain. Legendary land comes to play on tap. You can discard it to make 2 1/1s with haste. And it's cheaper for each legendary creature you control. Den of the Bugbear comes into play tapped unless it's one of your first 2 control 2 or more lands that enters the battlefield tapped, adds a red, or you can pay 4 to make it into a 3/2 that also makes a 1/1, which can help you close out the game. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Tap, add red, 4 tap, exile 3 cards from your graveyard, make 2 treasure tokens. So it can come into play tapped unless it's later in the game, and then it comes to play untapped because you control your commander or a different legendary creature. It adds red. You can just exile cards to your graveyard and just ramp with it because later in the game you want to cast more than one spell. And then I counted this as a land because this is just a really bad creature on the front, which is good for the late game, or in the early game, just play it as a tap land. So those are all the cards in my Torbran deck. I want to say, you know, we have lots of ramp, I think, but the one thing the deck needs is more card draw or exile effects. So that's something I would consider for yours. But all in all, I hope you enjoyed this deck tech. If you're thinking about building Torbran, you let me know what cards you liked in mine, what cards you're going to make sure to add in yours in the bottom. You listen to me talk about my mono red deck for 25 minutes, so I hope you liked the video. Click the button right there. It helps out a ton. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and may your top decks be ever in your favor. Thanks.